What is up, ladies and gentlemen? It's time to get back in the money-making mood for another installment of Best Bets. In today's Best Bets video, we are breaking down the odds, a preview, and my favorite bets for Day 3 of the Seattle Surge home series. If you enjoy these picks, don't forget to leave a like down below. As always, leave a comment as well with your thoughts on the video and your picks for the day, and subscribe to the channel as well if you want to see more CDL betting and just general CDL videos from me in the future. You'll definitely get a lot more content if you hit that subscribe button, so I appreciate all of that so very much, and let's hop right into the bets. Yesterday was a pretty good day for us. I mean, technically days 1 and 2 combined were decent. They could have been better, but they could have been worse. I went 2 and 2 so far. We are positive money by a little bit, and any profit is good profit. You will take that. All 4 of these bets were 1 round away from going the other way. So I was 2 and 2, could have been 0 and 4, could have been 4 and 0, anything in between. Paris map 2, they won 6-5 against New York. Toronto lost map 2, 6-5 against Florida to lose that second bet. Again, 1 map off from going the other way. Dallas minus 2.5. They covered narrowly. They were up 2-0. They started the control down 2-0 and won 3 straight rounds in the control to win the map and would take the series 3-0 for that bet to cover, but that was obviously very close to going the other way. And then Chicago map 3 minus 1.5. That lost the bottom bet because they beat London in control 3-2. So again, 1 round off from going the other way. That's the way it goes sometimes, but like I said, any profit is good profit. We will take it and move on to the next one, and we have some good matches today. So kicking us off, we have actually the only bad match of the day. It's the battle of the EU teams that nobody really cares about right now. Paris versus London. Neither of these teams have anything to play for right now. None of them can make champs. I think Paris is playing for a winner's bracket spot at the major, or at least they could get one. I'm not sure about London if they can or not. It will come down to a tiebreaker, but either way, not a match people are really excited for. I don't even think Paris players are excited to be playing anymore. Maybe London is, I don't know, but Paris is sort of at this point in the season where they're having fun and whatever happens, happens. They are favored over London in the hard points, though. They have been a little bit better of a hard point team so far this stage, not by much. They're underdogs in the search, which I still don't understand. I feel like they're always undervalued in the search and these stores, which I'm happy to take advantage of. I've bet them to win search 3 times so far, and I'm 2-1 doing it, so that has been good for me, but undervalued there. I think they are slight underdogs. I'm not quite sure why. And then in the control, both teams 1 and 3 so far this stage, but London do have the edge in the control by a decent bit, minus 155. Again, not the most exciting match in the world, but that is the odds for that one. Moving on to the most important match of the weekend, in my opinion, and one of the most important matches of the entire season, Florida Mutineers versus Minnesota Rocker. Because these two teams are in a dogfight for the 6th seed for champs, which we know is a big deal because the 6th seed starts in winner's bracket and the 7 and 8 seed start in the loser's bracket, so it's very, very important to get that 6th seed. Right now, Florida is 20 points behind Minnesota for the 6th seed, so Florida, if they win, they close that gap to 10. If Minnesota wins, they push that gap to 30, and they really have a very good chance of getting the 6th seed at champs. And there's also a winner's bracket spot for the next major on the line in this one, so that's obviously a big deal as well because getting that winner's bracket start makes you much more likely to get a better placement, which means more COD points towards the champ seeding. So it all comes full circle. Very important match no matter how you break it down. Florida, they're definitely favored in the hard points. They've been a very good hard point team all stage long. Their only 2 losses are both to Toronto yesterday, so I mean, no shame to lose to Toronto in hard points, but they've been a very good hard point team. Search, both teams 3-1, a slight edge to Florida. I think Minnesota's a little bit undervalued here. I think they have been a pretty good search team. Of course, Florida has too. They're just coming off that win over Toronto 6-5 on standoff, so by no means are they a bad search team, but Minnesota's probably been a little bit more consistent in search, so I think it should be a little bit closer to a toss-up probably, but regardless, Florida are small favorites there. And then in the control, Minnesota are small favorites there. I think that makes a lot of sense. It has been their strongest mode all season long. It's also their strongest mode, I guess technically search is this stage, but they've been good this stage as well, and Florida has not been good at control this stage, so I think those odds make sense on the control here to have Minnesota being the slight favorites. And finally, moving on to another important one, at least for one of these teams, Optic versus the LA Thieves. Optic not really playing for much except 10 CDL points because they have clinched the 1 seed in Group A for the Stage 5 major. They are not playing for much. LA Thieves, however, are the 3rd team in that battle for the 6th seed. They are also 20 points behind Minnesota. They're actually tied with Florida, so they're not out of it by any means. They would get a winner's bracket at the next major. They get a winner's bracket spot with a win here at the next major, and then with a loss, they still can, but it depends on some other matches. So obviously their best bet's just to win and take care of business themselves and guarantee themselves that winner's bracket spot. And they could have a chance to do it because I think there's a good chance Optic will be messing around with some maps. I think they're trying to expand their map pool as we head to the Stage 5 major and champs, and that could play into the favor of the LA Thieves. We saw it against London. Optic played a raid hardpoint, which they usually don't like to play. I think that's what they played. And they also played raid control. They banned a checkmate, which they would never do in control against a good team, but they're obviously trying to expand that map pool right now. So that could play in the LA Thieves' favor, but Optic still are favored by decent margins, pretty big margins in hardpoint and control, and then a small margin in search. Again, I think if this was a meaningful series for them and we knew they wouldn't be messing around with maps, they'd probably be a little bit bigger favorites, but they're still considerable favorites, and I think it makes sense. They're just a better team than LA Thieves, and on their best day, they should have no problems handling the Thieves as long as they're not messing around too much with maps, but I don't think they're going to do that, and I think they will be fine to take care of business against the LA Thieves. But let's get into the picks. That's what you're here for, so let's get right into it. So I have the London money line against Paris at -125, but also Paris to win map 2 at +100. Here's my thinking on this. Of course, I think both of those things are going to happen, or I wouldn't bet on them, so I think Paris will win the search. I keep saying they're underrated in the search, and it keeps proving me right so far. I've made some decent money on that. I'm going to keep trying to do that. But I do think London will win the series ultimately because I think they're better at respawns. However, it's kind of also a hedge because my thinking is if London loses, or if Paris would lose the search, that bet would not hit, obviously. But if they do lose the search, I think there's a very minimal chance they win the entire series on their respawn. So that in that case, London money line would be very likely to hit. And then if Paris does win the search, I mean, the London money line bet might not hit, but that'd be okay because the Paris map 2 bet would obviously hit. So I think there's a very good chance one of those things happens. Of course, I think they're both going to happen, or I wouldn't have bet it. But either way, I do think one of them is going to happen, and that's what my logic is there. So hoping for both, but I'm definitely pretty confident at least one of them happening. If Paris lose that map too, I cannot see them winning the series. Florida versus Minnesota, I like the over 4.5 maps. I like the value at +165. And like I was saying, I think Florida's favored in the hard points by a decent bit, and then Minnesota favored in the control, and then searches are kind of a toss-up. So I just think they're two pretty evenly matched teams. They both have a lot on the line. They both should be playing their best Call of Duty. And when they're both at their best, I think they're just very even teams. If one of them is not at their best, of course, it could be not a Game 5, but I think it has Game 5 written all over it. Like I said, they both have a lot on the line, and they both are playing good Call of Duty right now, so I think there's a very good chance this one goes to a Game 5. If it does go to Game 5, I'd probably pick Minnesota to win it, but regardless, I think it's just going to be a really great series. Very evenly matched teams, both with a lot to play for, so they will be playing at their absolute best. And finally, I threw in Chicago map 3 and the Florida map 1 at -105. So Chicago map 3 by itself was like -375. So I was very confident in that happening. Of course, I think even if they play Garrison, which they might, I think they'll probably not want to play Checkmate to try to expand their map pool. And then they might not want to play Raid because they've been feeling very comfortable on that lately, or at least they're getting better on that. So they might want to try to Garrison out ahead of the Major. And if that's the case, it would be a little bit tougher for them because they don't really play Garrison Control that much. However, I think they would still win that map. I think Garrison's a good map for their ARs, Dashy, and Formal to get into power positions and just sort of take over the map. We've seen them do it on Garrison Hardpoint before. Of course, different game mode, but it's the same map with the same power positions, and I like their chances on any control map, so I took them there. And then just to get some extra value, I threw in Florida map 1. By itself, it was like -180, so I feel like Optic map 3 is almost a guarantee, so I threw it in here to get the better odds. I just think Florida's playing better than Minnesota in hardpoints right now. Minnesota by no means a bad team. They certainly can come out and win the hardpoint, but I do favor Florida. Like I said earlier, they only have 2 hardpoint losses this stage, and both of them were to the Toronto Ultra. It's just like they've been finding a way to win their hardpoints. They put themselves in bad spots, but they end up coming out of it in the end and just somehow winning the map. They've been doing it all stage long. You think back to that Dallas series where they really had no business winning either hardpoint, but they won both of them thanks to some really heroic plays at the end of the game by certain players. So they just sort of had luck on their side, but they're also just a very good hardpoint team right now. Minnesota, like I said, not their strength. Surely they can win, but it's not likely. So I like Florida map 1 pretty much no matter what map it's on. I think they should be favored in that hardpoint, so I took that bet combined at -105. These are smaller bets for me, though, because I do think this was a pretty hard day for bets. I was looking at them, trying to think of some value, and I thought everything was pretty fairly priced, but I do like these 4. I wouldn't be placing them. I am just a little bit on the smaller side today. Of course, your account is your own risk management, and you should size your bets as you see appropriate. This is just how I size mine, definitely on the smaller side today, but hoping to go 3-1 or 4-0. Of course, 2-2 would probably get us to the positive money. I guess it would depend on which 2 bets would happen to hit, but 3 or 4 out of 4, which is always the goal, would be good enough to get us a nice bit of change going into Sunday for more picks then. But that's going to do it for these picks. So if you enjoy these, don't forget to leave a like down below. Leave a comment as well. Let me know if you're following along with these picks, and also let me know your picks for the day. And subscribe to the channel as well if you want to see more betting videos and other CDL videos from me in the future. I do appreciate all of that so very much. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you have a good day today, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video.